Alright, Thunderbolts 138. The first issue officially by Jeff Parkman. There is a lot of backstory to explain about this run. And let's begin right now and try and do it in under a minute. Warren Fallis, he revamped Thunderbolts in 2006. It was a big deal. Michael Bryan Benson saw that, and then, as he always does, wanted to convince people they were his characters and his idea, and so he stole over off the characters to do a new book called Dark Avengers. Another writer, Andy Dingle, he was left with the Thunderbolts book, and he established a new team of mostly C and D-listers. He left the book before he really got Gannon because he got offered Daredevil. Jeff Parkman took over, and before this he co-wrote and ghost wrote bits and pieces of Andy Dingle's last story. The most obvious bit being swapping out the reveal of who this fella in the middle of this cover is. I didn't know if that was under a minute, but it was pretty good. With Andy Dingle, this team never really came together. There didn't seem to be an objective or something to say about them. Jeff Parkman weaves some real magic and makes this team fantastic. One of the main things that he does, and he did this with the bits that he wrote in the story before this, he defines the individual morals of each character. Andy Dingle approached them all as basically being amoral, but Jeff Parkman better creates a moral centre, and at one end we have the pseudo good guys on the team, and at the other end you have the psychos. One of them bad guys on the team is this shirtless man here called Mr. X. He is a Wolfman bad guy and basically a serial killer. He is talking to Casper, one of the best characters to come from this run. And team roster here, we have Edsman, who is a Kurt Busey character that had a single appearance before Andy Dingle reintroduced him. He is actually great in this run, and it's a rare time when I can say a character created by Kurt Busey is good. Not because of Kurt Busey, mind you, but technically, this is a good Kurt Busey character. We have Casper. He got revamped for this run, and he continues on the team after this version of it goes away. We have Barney. He is a mercenary who pops up all over the place in Marvel Comics. But the one to mention is he has quite a few guest appearances in Captain America. Then we have Mr. X. And after him is Nuki, the man with the American flag tattooed on his face. That guy. He wears a skull mask in this. And finally, Ant-Man, the Derek Sullivan version. He was basically the biggest name on this team. Straight away, we have Ant-Man and Barney. Jeff Parkman establishes a camaraderie between them. A bit of a bromance. They are two of the more heroic of the group, and so they naturally gravitate towards each other. And the plot is that Mr. X, he has gone AWOL. He has gone to Colombia, and the other Thunderbolts are ganning after him. He has basically just gone off to gan on a killing spree. Mr. X, he is a mutie. I should explain his powers, even though they are constantly broken. He can read people. He knows exactly what they are going to do in a fight. Like, he telepathically can map out an opponent's fight turn and know what they're going to do next. And he has quick reflexes and stuff. It doesn't really matter. Everyone beats him anyway. And really, the main thing about this team and this issue is how dysfunctional they are. You have a total psychopath like Mr. X. You have an insane basket case like Nuki, who is also the team's leader. You have a paranoid, albeit not irredeemable spy like Casper. You have someone who knows right from wrong, but is a sad chump like Edsman. You have someone who on paper is a hero, but who is too much of a coward to do anything like Ant-Man. And then you have a guy who knows this is terrible, but he is getting paid, and he is having his integrity constantly tested by this awful group. The last story, the team all basically wound up fighting and trying to kill each other. And this one is no different. Nuki and Mr. X, they are very much the real bastards here. Nuki will just do whatever the mission requires. He is insane. He is always hallucinating and thinking that it is Vietnam. He's nearly always about to kill his teammates for not following orders. And this bit here, he nearly blows off Ant-Man's head for not properly announcing himself. One of the big rivalries on the team, and this is something that Jeff Parkman established in the previous Andy Dingle story. Edsman and Mr. X, they hate each other. Edsman is a redneck. He is a bit of a bumpkin, but he isn't a terrible guy. He hates Mr. X because he is just a slimy murderer. Mr. X, I think he's mostly coaxing him, but Mr. X mocks Edsman for his background, his lower class, and his intellectual inferiority. I think the class thing in general is probably a thing for Edsman too. Mr. X is a bit of a yuppie on top of being a twat. They start fighting here, and then Nuki shows up and starts fighting as well. And we have the bit that defines this run for me. Ant-Man and Barney, they arrive and ask each other if they should get involved, but then they agree to stand back and hope that they all kill each other. This is a great little run. You do have to wade through the Andy Dingle story before this for those scenes by Jeff Parkman to get some invaluable setup for this stuff, but it's brilliant. A truly remarkable writer is someone like Jeff Parkman who can come onto a book with a team like this, something that didn't really work, and then do not just really great stuff with that wonky version of the team, but some of the greatest stuff in the history of Thunderbolts. 7 Thunderbolts up.